How are we doing today? All right, welcome. So I don't know who's going to see this. Like I said, this is new, so we'll go with it. By the way, if you do pop in and you are interested in hearing about what is it, this, then go ahead and tap that screen. Say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. But here's something that most of these YouTube gurus aren't going to tell you. They absolutely will not tell you this because it ruins the fantasy for you. Right? It ruins the fantasy that they are trying to build. So understand that they're not going to tell you this. And I'm trying to get myself organized here, so bear with me as we do this. Hopefully. Yep, the Yeti's on, so there we go. So we're going to do this like this, so you don't have to worry about that. But look, a lot of people have been chasing the wrong thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to continue to chase the wrong thing, and they're going to waste another 6 months. Yeah, because we're almost to the halfway point of the year. And the only way that you can avoid chasing that wrong thing and wasting the next 6 months is by understanding what the real game is. All right? The real game is not what you think the real game is. And I'm just here to tell you that the game they've got you playing, and maybe this will resonate with you. I don't know. And maybe it won't. Trying to get myself organized here. So what sounds better to you? Right? What sounds better to you? You tell me. Well, wrong way here. What sounds better to you? I always get my fingers wrong here. Yeah. No? Yeah. What sounds better to you right here? This is what the typical person, the top figure, that's what the typical person is making from YouTube content. $60 a year. And it's because they're only monetizing about $2 per 1,000 views. And the average person isn't getting very many views on YouTube. So $60 a year, or you can look at the alternative, which is somebody who has figured out a way to take YouTube out of the equation, and they've decided that they are going to take control. They're not going to worry about an algorithm. They're not going to worry about how many times they post. They're not going to worry about how many subscribers or how many views they get. They're going to realize that it's quantity. You hear this all the time, right? It's quality over quantity. Well, it's never been more true than it is right now in content creation. And yet everybody is playing the how many views can I get and how many followers can I get? How many subscribers can I get, right? And to me, this is quite frankly, it is a vanity metric that's not helping you. It's absolutely not helping you to focus on that. Doing is you are missing the golden opportunity, which is to focus only on the small percentage of people who not only want to watch your videos, but they want the transformation that your video offers. Right? They want that transformation that your video offers. For example, it's one thing to make really nice videos about crafting projects. And then hope for brand deals from the companies that you promote. It's a whole other thing to say, hey, I've got this community where for $10 a month, we can all get together and we can build these things together. Or you can ask questions about how I built it. That's a whole different ball game. And that's one most people just aren't playing. They're just not playing that game. Instead, what they are doing is they are, like I said, they're playing the old game. And what they don't understand is that not only have the algorithms changed, but social media in general has changed. Now, I don't personally consider YouTube to be social media. It's more of an interest-based media and always has been. But you're still losing in that game if you're trying to get paid by the platform because you don't own anything. And I know you've heard this before, build an email list, but I'm going to take a slightly different track. And I'm going to say just build a following that is serious. Because I've had email lists of 3,000 people. And you know what it netted me? $0. Because what I realized is that I built that email list from viral content on TikTok. And when I did that, the problem was those were not my ideal audience. But what I learned is that you can do this instead. Because everybody has got this to a certain extent, right? And I'm gonna make this smaller so you can see it. But everybody has got this. That's why I like to focus on my Gen Xers with my content, because everybody has got this. We've all got knowledge buckets, right? If you're 40 plus, you have lived in a time where you have been through some stuff, right? You have been through some ups and downs. You've been through some challenges. You've got some wins. You've got some losses. You've got successes. You've got failures. And your story is the prevent version of other people's struggle. And so what I mean by that is that if you can tell somebody where you struggled and help them not struggle, that has value to them. And they're willing to pay for that value. They're willing to pay for that. Because if you think about, in the grand scheme of things, think about this equation right here. Right? Think about this equation right here. And I'm trying to get myself in the middle here. Because this is a perfect combination of the two things that I am talking about here. Problem solving equals value and value equals money. The problem with most people is they're trying to be entertaining and make money. And being entertaining is largely not valuable. Right? People want some payoff. The only difference is people in the entertainment field, right? Actors and comedians and music artists. They're the only ones that are the exception to this rule. People won't pay. Now, people will watch, but people won't pay generally for social media entertainment. But if you get away from entertainment and you start to delve more into educational content that solves a problem, problem solving equals value. Value equals money. At its core basis, people exchange money for value. And in this case, because it's all stuff that already lives here, it's the knowledge buckets. Your knowledge bucket, and you got 3 of them, really, right? You got 3 of them. Your knowledge bucket is what makes you worth paying for, right? And it can be in health, wealth, or happiness. It doesn't matter. All you have to do is prove that you have the knowledge. And the way that you prove that you have the knowledge is you simply talk about what you know and love. You know, people talk about that all the time. Oh, you can't make money from your hobbies, or you can't make money doing what you love. Well, now you can. Because we all have the same access. We all have the same access to people that are interested in it. We all have, the playing field has been leveled. And it's not leveled by AI. It's not leveled by necessarily having a large audience or anything like that. It's leveled by the fact that we can all share what we know and realize that at any given time, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people interested in that same subject. And a lot of times they're behind us. So if you think about it like, I don't know who's seen that movie, Catch Me If You Can, by Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. But it was based on a real life true story of a guy named Frank Abagnale. And Frank Abagnale had 2 parts to his life. Number 1 is he was a fraudster. He would pretend to be people in order to set up bank accounts and credit cards and basically take money from people. That was the first part of his life. And the second part of his life was working with the FBI to keep people from doing this to other people, because who better to foil a criminal than a former criminal? So he had 2 parts to his life, but this is a true story. Frank Abagnale is the reason that you have those little MICR codes, on bank checks. I know we don't use checks for the most part anymore, but anytime you see one of those, they are made in a special ink that cannot be duplicated. And that's because of Frank Abagnale, because Frank got so good at forging and passing bad checks. And the way that he did it is by becoming and adopting the persona or the personality of other people. He faked being a college professor. He faked being an airline pilot. He faked being a doctor, I believe, at one point. And then when it looked like he was about to get caught, he took off and he went into hiding. And that's why it was called Catch Me If You Can. But that's based off a true story. And they even use his real name in the movie. But the way that he was able to do it, and one of his most impressive feats, was being 17 years old, still in high school, and yet he was able to impersonate a college professor. And the way that he did it, because they asked him, they said, how were you able to convince these college freshmen that you as a 17-year-old were the professor? He said, I just read one chapter ahead of them in the book every week. And so you don't have to know everything. You just have to be one chapter ahead of somebody else. And that's where your professional career and your knowledge from your professional career, that's where that comes in, right? Because there's three ways that you can monetize knowledge. You can monetize a professional career that you've been in or you're currently in. You can monetize a personal problem that you've overcome in your life, whether it's a health, a mental health, a physical, a spiritual, whatever it is, right? Whatever that thing is that you've overcome, whether it's lack of confidence or the death of a loved one or the inability to speak on stage or inability to sell, all of those different things. Those are personal problems. And if you can overcome those, you can teach other people to overcome those because they will listen to you. The thing that makes you valuable is your experience. And if you've actually done this yourself, then people will listen to you. And then the last thing you can do is you can monetize your skill in a hobby or some sort of just passion project, right? Whether it's doing video or a particular skill with AI or technology or a sport or knitting or fishing or hunting or painting, whatever it is, that passion or hobby, that's the thing that your parents, if you're 40 plus, your parents told you you can never make money with that thing, so you better do it because you love it. Well, now you can not only love it, but you can also make money from it. And that's exciting because I know a lot of people aren't aware that this exists. Because 2 years ago, I had no idea this existed. Not a clue. And the reason was because I just never been exposed to people that lived differently than me. When you're in your 40s to 60s, you probably, if you're a professional, right? If you're a white collar worker, you were taught get a degree, get whatever certifications or licenses you need, and go to work. And very few people were taught because it wasn't a thing back then, but now it is. And you know what? I can remember going back to my network marketing days like 25 years ago, and then even more recently, 25 years ago. Sorry. I can remember those network marketing days 25 years ago. And you look at those. Actually, it was 30 years ago now. Yeah, it was 30 years ago. 30 years ago, network marketing. I can remember those days. And I remember one of the things that they wanted you to do for your mindset, which is key in accomplishing anything. What they wanted you to do for your mindset is they wanted you to subscribe to this 2 cassettes a week cassette, mindset program. And they had some tactical stuff in there, but it was mindset. And so you would get these 2 cassettes, because that's how old I am. You would get these 2 cassettes a week. And what you would do is you would consume these cassettes, and you paid, I think it was $6.50 each for these cassettes. And I remember they were white, and they just had simple black lettering on them. And the ones who were doing these cassettes, these were people that gave talks at different live events all over the country, and they were just recorded. There was no visual component to them, just audio. You listen to the cassettes. And I thought to myself, well, that's pretty cool. This person accomplished something. Then they got invited to speak on a stage. And then that talk was recorded and it was put into not a digital format, but it was put into a recorded format that could later be sold. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But now we have progressed to the point to where not only can your audio thoughts be recorded, but your written thoughts that you put out there can be recorded, and your video content can be recorded and put out there. And you can meet live with people as well. And so when you combine all of that, audio, video, written word, and live, when you combine all those things, that has tremendous value to people where you can get to know them and help them solve a problem. So all you have to do is figure out, what is my thing, right? What is it that I know? What is it that I like? And then you can solve a problem for people. And again, solving a problem, all it is, when you think about it at its base thing, just like I said before, somebody's at point A, they want to get to point B. Somebody has a current situation they're not happy with. And we all have that, no matter who you are. Every single person on planet Earth right now has some sort of scenario going on in their life that they're not happy with. They're not happy with their looks. They're not happy with their weight. They're not happy with their earning potential. They're not happy with their job. They're not happy with their relationship. They're not happy with what they don't know, right? There's all kinds of things. And all you have to do is be the guy who's at like maybe 0.2 or 3 on this list, and then you can guide people that are on the other side. I had a friend of mine that talked about this, and he said to a first grader, a third grader is a genius. And if you'll commit that to memory, you'll realize that you have value to offer other people, because you can specifically offer value to brand new people that don't know anything about what it is you're teaching them. There's nothing more eye-opening than being a complete newbie to something, and then somebody opens your mind as to what's possible with that topic. There's nothing more valuable than that. So you teach people how to do something that they didn't previously know how to do. The level of value that you're giving them is enormous, and they're willing to pay for that, because you're taking them from their current situation where they don't know about it to their desired situation, which is where they're happy, because not only do they know about it, but they've gotten this progressive transformation from point A to point B, step by step by step by step. And if all you do is tell them you can get them from point A to point B, but you don't show them the steps, they won't believe that they can do it. They won't have the confidence to try, because you're not giving them the roadmap. That would be like if somebody said to you, I live in Pennsylvania, and if I said, or if somebody came to me and they said, how do I get to New York? And I just said, you go north. But if somebody else said to them, or if they said to somebody else, how do I get to New York? And that person handed them a map, giving them turn-by-turn directions on how to get there, who are they going to listen to? They can either listen to me, where I'm just telling them how, or they can listen to somebody else who's showing them how, step by step. One of the most popular forms of content on the internet are these step-by-step craft tutorials. My wife watches these things all the time. All the time. She is forever watching this stuff. And it's because there's a step-by-step process. And so as a result, she has made craft projects that way. She has started her garden, her raised bed garden that way, all of those different things. And so the value these people are providing my wife is enormous. And I can guarantee you, if any of these people had a program where they not only make those types of videos, but if they also answer people's personal questions, because here's the thing, most of the time when people make this content, it's getting so many views and they're so inundated with feedback on that, they can't get to everybody. Right? They can't answer everybody's question. It's too much. But if you answer questions in a place that you own, where you can have interactive conversations with people, because let's be honest, YouTube is not a very interactive platform. It's just not. Because you can't connect with people. You can answer people's questions in replies on videos, but that gets tedious after a while, going back and forth on that stuff. But what if you had a place that you owned that nobody could take away from you, and you could say, hey, this is what you do first. And then if you have questions after you do that, make a post in this community and I'll be happy to answer your question. Or if you have a question, then join me live on Tuesday when I explain this thing. Right? Those are the things that separate the people that just make content and the people that have an offer that people take advantage of. And that's the difference between relying on views and having somebody pay you on a monthly basis to get access not only to information, but more importantly to you. And the other thing is, when you build a community, everybody learns from one another and they all develop relationships. And then that makes it very unlikely that they will leave, because if you can build a connection with somebody, you don't want to lose that connection. And if you don't want to lose that connection, you have to stay in the place where that connection was created. Make sense? So instead of this, or what? Instead of this, the top figure, you get the bottom figure, which is somebody paying you $1,300 a month. And if you don't think that that is possible, here's what I want to show you. And hopefully you can see this. Hopefully you can see this now. All right, now I'm going to move over here. So hopefully you can see this. This is a platform called School. Now the cool thing about this platform, and I'm going to make this bigger. All right, I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to move this over here. And the cool thing about this platform is the fact that you can have a community, right? And right now I'm telling my people that I'm going live on YouTube. You can have a community. You can have a classroom. And you can have a calendar of events. As you can see, I've got my calendar of events here. And then you have your members. You have a map that shows people where all your members are located, which I think is one of the coolest things, because you can see I have people all over the world. Mostly they're in the US, but look at here. I got somebody in Alaska.
My friend Faith's in Alaska. Or I've got 10 people in the United Kingdom. As a matter of fact, somebody who just won a contest in my community this past week or month, she just got her prize in the UK this week, right? So, and then I got a person in Germany, right? I've got people in the United Kingdom. I got people. I mean, it's crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. And this platform that we use allows people to do that. And that's pretty neat. And then you have these leaderboards where you can gamify the process for people. And then you have your about page. Now, the thing about this about page is that it replaces a funnel. You don't need a website and you don't need a funnel. All you need is a way that you can generate traffic, right? And then you generate that traffic. I look very similar to the guy who is on that video. So you generate traffic, and then you send them to this page. And this page is a very brief page that says, this is who this is for. This is who it's not for. This is what you get. And so you offer proof, promise, right? You offer promise, proof, process. And as long as you do that, and it's what they want, then they get the opportunity to go inside and check it out. Now, if you set it up the right way, you can set it up to where there is a free trial. Like in my group, there is a free trial. Now, what you're doing is you're seeing my view of it right now, but now you're seeing the free trial. And for them to get the free trial, all they have to do is click here. And like I said, it is try for free, right? Either one. And you can have different levels of access to you based on the amount or based on the level of access that you give people to you. So you can have different value points for people. Like if they're brand new, make it either free or a free trial and then a small amount of money. Just make it simple for them. And I like free trials because that takes the guesswork out of the whole thing. And then it also removes the barrier for most people to have to worry about whether or not it's for them. And then look, there are 4 ways that you can there are 4 ways that you can show people how to do this. Right? You can tell people about your thing. There are 4 ways to do that. And I'm going to give you these right now. Obviously, I didn't get a lot of this stuff done beforehand, but there's 4 ways. You can do direct outreach, which is literally just, hey, I help blank do blank with this new community that I have started. If you know anybody who would be interested in that, here's a link to send them. And then that way, when you reach out to somebody, it's literally just a numbers game. You're not pressuring them to join, right? All you're doing is you're telling them, hey, this thing exists. If you know anybody who's interested in it, or maybe you are, then here it is. And you're not selling anybody anything. You're not saying buy something. You're not even saying, hey, join my community. And that's the wrong way to handle it anyway. But you're not worried about those things. And when you take the emotion out of it, anybody can contact 25 or 50 people a day and say, hey, I've got this thing. Because all you're really doing is you're saying, hey, I don't know if you like ice cream, but I've got an ice cream stand over here. That's all direct outreach is. And if you take the emotion out of it and don't worry about being rejected and just realize that it's a numbers game and it's part of the process and you don't have to get emotionally invested as to whether or not they say yes or no. Right? It's kind of like if somebody said to you, hey, I don't know which one, but if you contact 100 people, you're going to find 10 or 15 that will say, yes, I'll pay you $30 a month. Would you contact those 100 people? Or would you contact 1,000? Let's put it that way. Because you're going to have to contact a lot more than you think you are. But is it worth it? And if you say it's worth it, then this might be something worth checking out for you. Another way to do this is obviously content. Live content like I'm doing, or recorded content like most people do on YouTube. You can do it that way. And then at the end of that content, or maybe several times, depending on the length of it, during that content, you can say, hey, if you want more, check this out. Or if you want this thing. Because one of the things that I've learned in running my own community, and by the way, we do this on a platform called School. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but a large reason why this platform exists and is doing so well is because of this guy. Let me pull him up for you. Have you seen this guy before? You probably have. All right, so we're going to bring this down. We're going to bring this up. Have you seen this guy before? So he has been very popular on social media now for quite some time. And the reason is, you see these 3 books? He's written these 3 books. In fact, I've got one of them right here. This is one of my favorites that he has created. It's called Money Models. $100 million money models. He started with the first one, which was the purple one. That was $100 million offers. The next one was $100 million leads. And the last one is $100 million money models. And the reason, and I don't know why it's kind of grayish here, it's actually a green book. But the reason that he did it in that way is because you got to have the offer first. Then you got to get leads for the offer. Then you have to create a model around the offer so it will be attractive to people so they will take the offer. And then when you do that, all combined, you get a business that works. And you get a business that stays sustainable, right? It goes on. And so he owns 50%, and you can even see it right there. School. He owns 50% of School. He bought a 50% equity share in this platform a couple of years ago. In January of 24, he announced that he bought a 50% equity share. And so what that allows him to do is promote that on all of his content. So now lots more people know about it. So before he wrote and launched this book, and by the way, he launched this book live on YouTube several months ago. I think in August of last year. And this book, using the same techniques that he always teaches, this book sold, are you ready for this? $106 million worth of copies in 72 hours. 72 hours. He sold 106 million copies of this book. And the way that he did it was the same things that he talks about in his book, which means it's kind of like I'm showing you exactly how I did it, right? And here's what he said. He said every business needs these things. Right? Every business needs these things. So you need a unique offer, right? And I should make a thing of this. Everyone needs a unique offer. They need recurring income. They need high margins on their stuff, and they need referrals. That's the only way he said that a business can survive. A unique offer, recurring income, high margins, and referrals. So the reason it needs to be unique is because if it's not unique and people can get it anywhere, then they're just going to go with the lowest price. And if you try to compete on price with everybody, unless you are Walmart, you are going to lose. You're going to lose. It's not going to work because there will always be somebody out there who will undercut you. But you know who doesn't compete on price? Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Cartier, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. Now, why don't they compete on price? Because they don't have to. You don't ever see a Rolls Royce commercial, do you? You do see Mercedes, you do see Porsche. Actually, you don't see Porsche that I've seen. You do see Mercedes, you do see BMW, but you never see Rolls Royce or Porsche commercials. You don't see Ferrari or Maserati commercials. You don't see Gucci commercials. You don't see Louis Vuitton commercials. You don't see Cartier commercials. Why? Because they're luxury brands and they don't compete on price. Right? Cartier necklace, I don't even know how much it is. Zales necklace, what, $149? You can't get a Cartier necklace for that. So it's unique. You want unique. There's really only two ways that you can really compete in the marketplace. Number one is you can offer something cheap to lots of people, super cheap to lots of people, or you can offer something really expensive to just a few people. Those are the only two ways that you can survive. Because if you try to play in the middle, it won't work. So that's why you want something unique that somebody can't get anywhere else. Then you can price whatever you feel that it is worth and whatever you can prove it's worth. Number two is recurring income. This is what YouTube and social media in general and selling digital products and selling e-commerce products and all of that stuff, none of those business models offers that. Right? None of those business models offers that. So you want recurring income. Why? Well, you've got recurring expenses for your business, right? You have to pay for your internet. You have to pay for a website or a community. You got to pay for, if you do it this way, you got to pay for a funnel, or you have employees you have to pay every month, or you have inventory you have to keep. So why wouldn't you want recurring income? So that's why Alex says you need a continuity model in your business. Well, a continuity model is the first step. A continuity model is the very first step. So that's the way to do that. Number three, you want high margins. And high margins are simply what I sell it for and what it costs me to produce it. There is a huge gap. Now, Alex, the guy who wrote the book and the guy who owns school, Alex says you want 80% plus margins. 80%. Now, most businesses average about 10 to 15% profit. He says you want 80% profit. And one of the ways that you get that is you offer things that have more perceived value but don't cost you more money. They might cost you some time, but they don't cost you money. For example, let's say you had a membership where people could meet with you once every 2 weeks, and it was X number of dollars a month, once every 2 weeks. But if you paid twice that amount, let's say they could meet with you 3 times a week. So really, it's what? It's another couple of hours out of your week, but you're doubling the income that you produce. And that's how you get 80% margins, is you do stuff like that. And then the last thing you want is you want referrals. School is built for referrals. Check this out. This is really, really cool. All right, school is built for this. So if you go into my settings, where is it here? So if you go into my settings and you go into affiliates, and all you do is you take this from off to whatever it is you want to pay your affiliates, 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50%. That's all you have to do. And then you know what happens? They get rewarded. And I'm going to show you how this works. We're going to go back to my community. And then we're going to go to the About page. And we're going to go to the customer view. Then we're going to go over to community. As a member. All right. Do you see the group link here? When you are a member of a community, or when you have a community, people that are in your community will get an invite people button right here. That invite people button means that when they invite people to your community, if a person joins your community, they're going to get whatever percentage of commission that you have set it up as. So there's built-in incentive for them to recommend you to other people. Think about it like YouTube. Think about it like Netflix. So Netflix sends you an email today and they say, hey, for every person you recommend Netflix to using this link that is personally tagged to you, for every person that you recommend, we'll give you 50% off of your membership with Netflix. And oh, by the way, we're not going to limit you to the 2 members that it would take for your membership to be free. We're going to give you unlimited referral capability with this. Well, in that case, how many people would you refer to Netflix? Right? Endless amounts. Why? Because you're creating a monthly income stream. So that's why you would do that. So that's really what this school thing is all about. And it's got a built-in referral program, which makes it super, super helpful. So that about wraps up why this is such a great business model right here. This, and then like I said, this book, that about wraps it up, why this is such a great model. Look, I've got a community of my own. I got a 7-day free trial. Or if you just want to start your own community, and if you use my link, to do it, then I'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one where you and I will sit down and say, okay, say this here, put this image here, describe it this way, toggle this on, turn this off, all of those things. And we'll sit down and we'll actually do that during that call. It's not going to be a pitch fest. It's going to be, okay, what do you want to do with your community? What topic do you want it to be? And how is this all going to work? And that's how this works with me too. So both of those links are in my profile here on YouTube, and I hope you'll check them out. And we'll see you later. Take care.